Welcome to Daniel's Inferno. My name is Daniel. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, share, join the conversation below. I'd love to hear from you. So I wasn't able to sleep and I wanted to make a video about this earlier today, but some things got in the way. So I thought, why not do it now? As you see on my screen, the UAE and Israel reach a historic deal to normalize their relations. Now, this has a multitude of potential avenues that it could delve down, to be honest with you, and I would like to dive into those today. So, Donald Trump is actually the mastermind behind this deal, so I think he actually deserves the credit. They have reached a historic deal that will lead to full normalizations of diplomatic relations between the two nations. Brokered by Donald Trump means Israel has suspended plans to annex parts of the West Bank. Now, that's pretty big because many of the Islamic countries, many Middle Eastern countries, uh, find fault and find anger in how Israel treats the land the Palestinians do have and this land that was technically originally theirs. Now, I'm not arguing against their existence. I'm not even, we're not getting into that. But that is often a bone of contention. So the fact that they are stopping their annexation of the West Bank is a very good step that could ripple to other nations. Now, the UAE is actually a member of OPEC. Now, the other members are Algeria, Angola, the Congo, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Venezuela, and Equatorial Guinea. So it's important because Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, many of these countries actually have had historically very bad relations with Israel. So the normalization of relations with the UAE has the potential to ripple out to the UAE's allies. Now, that would be a really, really good thing to help the tensions in the region. A lot of the tensions, obviously, it's not just between Israel and the other countries. There are obviously um, inter-religional conflicts, interreligion conflicts. Sorry, but in terms of the Islamic world, there are two sects of Islam, and they're often, certain countries are trying to back this group, and other countries are backing the other group, and it's all back and forth. So this could potentially be very good for Israel for the relations with other countries. Now, obviously, we'll see, but there's a lot of good things here. So they put out a joint statement, and I do have that joint statement for us to go through just a little bit. But it said that this historic diplomatic breakthrough will advance peace in the Middle East region and is a testament to the bold diplomacy and vision of the three leaders and courage of the UAE and Israel to chart a new path. I agree with that very much. It was reached after talks between Trump, Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I saw clearly a very big breakthrough. Trump is obviously touting it as huge. Um, so during a call with Trump and Netanyahu, an agreement was reached to stop further Israel annexation of Palestinian territories. The UAE and Israel also agreed to cooperation and setting a roadmap towards establishing a bilateral relationship. Netanyahu said it was a historic day and that the deal would lead to a full and formal peace with the UAE. Um, it's an incomparable, excitingly exciting moment, a historic moment for peace in the Middle East. It would suspend declaring sovereignty over areas outlined in Trump's peace plan for the region and focus on expanding ties with other Arab and Muslim countries. Good. It said efforts would continue to achieve an enduring resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Good. The US, Israel, and the UAE are confident that additional diplomatic breakthroughs with other nations are possible and will work together to achieve this goal. As I said, hopefully the UAE might be able to coerce or help nudge other countries in the direction of peace, of a fully formalized peace. I mean, this is going to end up in consulates being put in, travel being able to happen between the countries, trade between the countries. Like, this is huge. The more allies, the better, obviously, in my opinion. And if they're able to work through a lot of these issues, and that includes trying to continue working on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I think all of these are good things. And again, I think that it shows good faith that Israel is willing to take steps to actually achieve a lasting peace. And I hope other countries in the region will take the UAE's take their lead and see that what they did was the correct move and not try to penalize them or ostracize them or vitiate them for trying to normalize relations with Israel, because that's also a possibility, obviously, that these countries retaliate, that they're mad, that they aren't willing to go in the direction of peace. So, obviously that's no, at least I don't want that at all. I won't say no one wants that because I don't know that for a fact. But most rational people don't want that. They want peace. So fingers crossed that this can actually reverberate around and other countries again can follow the lead. Delegations from Israel and the UAE would meet in the coming weeks to sign agreements regarding investment, tourism, direct flight security, and telecommunications, among other things. They would also discuss establishing embassies. Direct ties between two of the Middle East's most dynamic societies and advanced economies will transform the region by spurring economic growth, enhancing technological innovation, and forging closer people-to-people relations. It's true. Palestinian officials reacted angrily to the agreement, with President Mohammed Abbas ordering the Palestinian embassy to the UAE to return home. Oh, wow. The Palestinian leadership rejects and denounces the UAE, Israel, and US trilateral surprising announcement. But other Arab countries welcomed the step. Egypt, which along with Jordan already has full diplomatic relations with Israel. So the deal uh, would halt Israel annexation of Palestinian land. I think that's good. The Egyptian president said that this would help bring peace to the Middle East. I agree. I, you know, I don't see how Palestine doesn't at least see this as a step in the right direction if it means the halting of annexation, because that's one of the biggest issues that is, Palestine has with Israel. I mean, obviously, there are things with the treatment and how much resources are allowed through, how much help, etc. How Israel has a lot more might, economic and military, and they can often flex that on Palestine without Palestine being able to really react in a reciprocal manner of any sort. So, I mean, again, it's a very complex issue, but the point is that I think that this could lead to further peace between other countries and could help spur more action regarding the Israel-Palestinian conflict. If I'm wrong, please tell me down in the comments. If I'm totally out there, if you're a diehard Palestinian, freedom fighter type of individual, then let me know that I'm wrong. And if you're a diehard Israel can't do anything wrong type of person, again, let me know down in the comments that maybe I'm out of my mind. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm being too positive about the situation. I mean, I'm keeping an open mind. I just think that this could lead to further positive developments regarding not only relations with countries who have it direct in their charter that Israel doesn't have a right to exist, but also that, again, like the whole Israel-Palestinian conflict might actually be able to take a positive and lasting step forward. I'd like to talk about the statement that they made just a little bit. We're just going to go through it a bit. We're not going to talk about the whole thing. So this is from the White House's website. This is the statement that they put out. And again, it's quite long. You can find it if you would like, but there's, a couple of things that are really, really important. Um, So, as a result of this diplomatic breakthrough and at the request of President Trump with the support of UAE, Israel will suspend declaring sovereignty over areas outlined in the president's vision for peace and focus its efforts now on expanding ties with other countries. The US, Israel, and UAE are confident that additional diplomatic breakthroughs with other nations are possible and will work together to achieve this goal. They will immediately expand and accelerate cooperation regarding the treatment of and the development of a vaccine for the coronavirus. Working together, these efforts will help save Muslim, Jewish, and Christian lives throughout the region. I mean, you need to remember that Israel, again, they have some of the, if not the most resources of that area. And to be able to work with other countries and get the intellectual help of these other countries is going to be huge. This normalization of relations and peaceful diplomacy will bring together two of America's most reliable and capable regional partners. Israel and the UAE will join with the US to launch a strategic agenda for the Middle East to expand diplomatic, trade, and security cooperation. Along with the US, Israel and the UAE share a similar outlook regarding the threats and opportunities in the region, as well as a shared commitment to promoting stability through diplomatic engagement, increased economic integrity, and closer security coordination. Today's agreement will lead to better lives for the people of the UAE, Israel, and the region. I think this is all very important. Again, I would love to know what your thoughts are. Please let me know down in the comments. But I am extremely, I think this is very welcome news in a time that has been so negative in the last 4 to 6 months for a lot of the world. A lot of really, really bad things happening. It doesn't ever really seem like positive things are coming out of it. But try to keep a positive outlook, try to keep a smile on your face, and try to remember that you can always change the situation that you're in with enough hard work. And I think President Trump is showing that with enough hard work, historic and monumental achievements can be made. Thank you all for watching. I'm Daniel's Inferno. Have a wonderful evening.